On this episode of the O&S Podcast, we have the guys from 1836. And if you don't know who they are, they're a film agency that O&S is now partnering to do all of our films, including athlete spotlights and a lot of our content that we put out. For those of you who don't know, I'm the one that has been doing that from the very beginning of O&S. And so I thought this was a beautiful way to introduce them and our partnership. And we talk a lot about film and a lot of different subjects, including COVID and all things in between. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the O&S Podcast. What's going on, guys?
What's up, man?
So we got the guys from 1836. We got Morgan and Dev. The reason I wanted to bring you guys on the podcast is 1836 Film. Is it film company? Just film?
Just 1836.
It's 1836.
Yeah, just keep it simple.
I think it should be 1836 Film Company, but it's fine.
Yeah, film company, film agency.
Film agency.
I mean,
film.
we like to keep it pretty like abstract, you know?
Yeah.
So people don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
I still call it like 1924, and I forget the number all the time. We like the mystique, you know?
I think it's good. I think it adds some mystery to your brand. Like, what do those guys do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
it's a little bit of mystique.
It's good. But 1836 is now taking over all film for O&S. And for those of you who don't know, O&S likes to do different film pieces on athletes and different stories that we like to highlight. And Morgan and I have been doing a lot of content from the very beginning of O&S, and he's decided to get into this industry. And then you guys teamed up and merged your two companies together, and now 1836 is alive. So that's why I wanted to bring you guys on. We're going to talk about 1836 and all kinds of different things, but let's start with that. So Morgan, I've literally seen your progression getting into film. You've always been a super creative, super artistic person, but what kind of like steered you into that path?
Into film?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know, it must have been a year and a half ago. I was doing fitness, you know, and I was an athlete for O&S for a while. And
You still are, by the way.
I still am. I'm just kind of like
one of my main models, man.
It's low key.
My mom
you know?
would be so sad if you stopped modeling for O&S. So.
Yeah. No, what I was doing, I was doing like these YouTube videos, and you know, I wanted to provide value. And with calisthenics, it's a little bit more of a lesser known. It's a lesser known like route of athletics, and so I started making YouTube videos, and as I was making these videos, I found that I was sort of obsessing over the film and the edit and putting it all together, and I just sort of found this weird obsession. And before that, I had helped produce and direct music videos with the music project I was working on, so I had a little bit of experience, but to actually have a camera in my hands and to be able to work in post-production and stuff, I really fell in love with it, and I was nudged by a few people to pursue it a little bit harder. And you know, one thing led to another. I started Subvision Media and worked with that for about a year. All through Subvision Media, you know, Dev and I were working together with each other's respective companies, and it just kind of felt like a no-brainer to merge and join 1836. So
right.
Yeah, it was kind of a happy accident falling into film, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I always like applauded, and even other creators that I knew in town that were like just super upset at how good you were, like right out of the gate. Like you just had this like amazing eye for composition. You dove deep, like really deep into it, and the product was amazing. And I know that Dev and you guys had your separate companies, and you started to team up a little bit more, and you're just like, we might as well just do this together kind of thing.
Yeah, you quickly realize when you start doing video production that it's definitely a team effort, you know.
Sure.
You hit a ceiling pretty quickly. So in order to really, you know, do these projects justice, you're better off teaming up.
Absolutely.
You know? And the team effort really does apply. And yeah, we just found that we were able to create, you know, way better projects together, you know, and the jobs that we were getting kind of started to necessitate that. So yeah, we just started working together, and yeah, like Morgan said, it was kind of a no-brainer. You know, we decided just to finally start something on our own. You know, start something different, and we had some time during this quarantine. So yeah, we started this company in the quarantine.
Yeah. 6
Yeah,
months
the
into our
pandemic.
15-day to slow the spread. So
Yeah.
it's fine.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I probably should have prefaced this in the beginning. From the start of O&S, I've been the one to do our film and take on all the video projects in effort to remain a lean startup. It was just one of those things that I'm like, I'm going to dive into this and learn how to do it myself and just take on those projects. Now O&S has gotten to a point where I'm having to start letting go of certain things, but film is such a part of our brand, and I'm very specific on what I want, representing the brand and the content that we put out. And Morgan started working with me on a couple of different projects last few projects that we did, especially the athlete spotlights. And there was this like cohesiveness, and easeability. Like he just knew, like, if I'm here, he's going to be here. And it's like he read my mind. And I know that that's how you guys work together as well. Yeah. So if there is going to be somebody that I'm going to transition to do that, obviously it would be you guys. And the films you guys are putting out is just insane. I want to get into like how did you get into film as well? Because I asked Morgan, but what kind of pushed you into that world?
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of interesting. So I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and Vancouver's a film city. A lot of things shot there, a lot of movies and commercials and television. So my first kind of step into that world was actually, I started acting at a young age. So
Did you really?
Yeah, I was like 4 or 5 years old, like very young. And so I was kind of always in that world, like from a very young age, and did some acting, so I got to see kind of the other side of the set, and fast forward, whatever, how many years later, I came to a point I was doing live production for about a decade. So I was around all the toys and the cameras and all that stuff, and, I had a good idea of how to use all that stuff, but it had always been something that I wanted to do. So eventually I had some downtime. I got injured and was kind of bedridden for a while. So I kind of had some time just to do some soul searching and figure out what I really wanted to do and what I'm passionate about. And it was just made like really clear to me that, it was filmmaking, and I just felt like I needed to get into it. So as soon as I kind of got my bearings and was able to get up and walk again and was out of bed, I bought a camera. And I started at first filming, my wife and I would go on trips, to Europe or whatever, and just film that and film whatever I could. And that kind of turned into people reaching out for paid work. So I was kind of blessed to never really have to do a lot of free work up front. I was able to kind of hit the ground running and make a living out of it pretty quickly. And again, then I met Morgan. Well, we had already met, but we kind of reconnected years later, and we had these parallel paths, both doing filmmaking, and so we just dove into it, man. And now it's all we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys are amazing creators. The products you guys are putting out is unbelievable.
Thanks, man.
Especially for just such a new film company. So I want to get back to your accident, because I know that was a pretty big turning point in your life. And so, if you're comfortable talking about it,
sure.
I know it was a pretty big thing that happened.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So what happened?
Long story short, I got crushed by a tree that did a lot of damage. So a little bit of the story, back in September of 2017, in the wake of Hurricane Irma, I was working at an organization that kind of stopped everything they were doing to be able to provide some relief. So we were out there doing disaster relief, and we were out there, taking trees off of, partially trees would have fallen over on houses, and we go and chop them off and get rid of them, and just helping people around the community and whatever we needed to do. So I was actually leading a team in Fort Myers this particular day, and we were, there was a massive tree. It was kind of partially fallen over. Huge tree, big limbs, and we were working on this tree for the better part of the afternoon. Someone was cutting. We'd run in, grab the pieces, put them in a burn pile. We had been working on this tree for a while, and this, at one point, I don't remember any of this. Let me preface by saying.
Okay, so this is a story that was told to you.
This is other people telling me what happened. So we're working on this tree, on this large limb, and it was just kind of a freak accident where this limb, we kind of, as you're cutting it, you can kind of see the fall path, and you kind of expect where it's going to go. this particular limb kind of fell into itself and like slingshotted around. And me and two other guys, we all went running. Again, I don't remember this, but we all went running. And I was just the unlucky one that got crushed by this tree. And I remember waking up and I was, out of breath. And, I've been injured before, so I remember the feeling. I knew that it was serious. It was bad. Couldn't breathe. And the guys around me knew that something was up. I didn't know what was going on, but they took me to the ER. And again, this is right after Irma. So this is, the ER is filled with people. There's, tons of people in the waiting room. There's
absolute worst time to go into a hospital.
Craziness. Yeah. But I had a lot of chest pains. I had pains everywhere. So they got me right back to see a doctor immediately because of the chest pains. And he did a quick, once over on me. I think they ran an x-ray. And the doctor pretty much sent me on my way. He's like, hey, you're it looks like you have a acute fracture in your pelvis. You might have a cracked rib, but you're good to go. I would just go. He gave me crutches and said, yeah, you're good to go. At that time, my wife is there, and they're just looking at me, and I'm damaged, I'm bruised up, and I'm feeling it. And at that point, they sent me out the door, and that was a Thursday, and I spent Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at home. And the doctor also told me that, hey, don't just go sit down. Like, you got to keep the blood moving. You got to keep it going. So I was up walking around on these crutches, and by walk around, I mean like shuffling my feet, because every time I'd move my pelvis, I would hear cracks, and it would felt like my hip was out or something was going on, and it was excruciating. I would just go like ghost white, start sweating profusely, and it was gnarly, man. So anyways, I spent a few days at home, and we just didn't feel right about it. We're like, man, we should go get a second opinion and go talk to a doctor. So we went and saw a specialist who did some more x-rays on me, and she was very alarmed. She's like, you need to get to a hospital immediately. You're surgical. So from there, we just thought we were going to go in and get a second opinion on how to how do I heal up?
Right.
So from there, we went right to Sarasota Memorial Hospital, direct intake. And the very next morning I was in surgery. I had 3 full breaks on the left side of my pelvis. So pretty much what happened was the pelvis was not really even connected anymore. It was kind of just flip-flopping around. And anytime I'd move my legs, it was bone scraping bone. So I know it's...
Jesus.
Yeah, it was, which is why it hurt so bad. And why I was making those crazy noises.
So this doctor sent you home knowing that like your pelvis was in that kind of shape, or you just don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think that they were very overrun. They had a lot of people there. And he was honest with me. He said, listen, if you stay here, we're not going to have a room for you. You're going to have to sleep on a cot in the hallway, So, and in my mind, I justified it. I was like, well, you know what? The doctor's telling me I'm okay to leave. I'm in a lot of pain, but hey, it is what it is. And there's probably people here who need it more than I do. So I was like, all right.
And that's kind of the news that you're hoping. Like, oh, yeah, you're good. Just,
Yeah.
You don't want the doctor being like, oh, yeah, you need to go into surgery right now. That's not the news that you want.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So at that point, we went home for the weekend. But, so went back in, got some more x-rays, went right to SMH. And luckily, they took great care of me there, man. I had a really great surgeon. I was in surgery the next morning. So I had 3 full breaks in my pelvis. I broke 3 ribs. I had a partially collapsed lung. It was gnarly, man. It was, Yeah, it was rough. So they had to put pretty much 2 screws in my pelvis to fix me up. So that night they prepped me for surgery, and the doctor said, listen, this can go 2 ways. One, we're going to put you on a table. We're going to knock you out. We're going to put you on a table. If we can get your pelvis back to where we feel like it can heal without surgery, we won't cut you open. That's best case scenario. Scenario 2, if we have to cut you open, we're going to have to put some screws in you, and then we're probably going to have to put this external fixation device, which comes out of you and holds you together. And obviously the recovery time with that, it's a long 3 months off your feet and the whole thing. So we went to bed just hoping that I'd get through surgery, period, but hoping that I wouldn't have to even have surgery. So they put me out, and I woke up and I looked down and I have metal coming out of me, and I'm like, well, I guess it was option 2. You know? Yeah. So from there it was 3 months double non-weight bearing. 2 of those months I had the external fixation device coming out of me. which meant, you know, I had to have constant care at home. My wife is a saint. Honestly,
You guys were pretty newly married at that time, right?
We had been married for 2 years.
Okay.
At that
Still
time.
fresh.
Still fresh.
Still
man.
fresh.
Still fresh. But honestly, that really was, you know, we already had a great marriage, but that was huge for us.
Sure.
Man, we went through it together, and she dropped everything she was doing, stayed home, took care of me full time, man, because it was just a full-time gig at that point. And, you know, you have open wounds, and you know, I couldn't do anything on my own. And the thing that sucks, you know, I had a wheelchair to get in and out of, you know, from bed to wheelchair. That was my life. But I had broken ribs. So they had a trapeze above my bed. But to get in and out of my chair, I had to lift myself up, which, as you know, if you have broken ribs, that's not
next to
fun.
impossible,
You know? Yeah. So that was 2 months like that. I got the fixation device out. And then it was another month still double non-weight bearing. So I couldn't even put pressure on my feet. So I had to lift myself in and out of the chair. And then once I got that out, it was, you know, a couple months of rehab. But I'm 100% at this point. Back.
So no issues now? All good?
No.
Back to 100%?
Back to 100%, man.
That's wild.
Yeah.
The thing that's like, so I think the jarring part of that story for me is like, it's not like you were out doing something stupid. It's not like you were out like being an asshole on a motorcycle or something like that.
Right.
You're like out there trying to do good. And like something like this happens.
Yeah, you know, it was one of those things where when something like that happens, I guess there's two ways to look at it, right? You could either say, well, why did this happen to me? And, you know, woe is me and all those things. And it's even easier to think that way when you're like, I was doing something good. Like,
right.
What happened?
Yeah.
Why did this, you know, why did God let this happen to me?
Right.
But I had the mentality from day one, like, this is, you know, it's out of my control.
Sure.
It is what it is. You know, I can make this 3 months miserable for myself and my wife, or I can have a good attitude. She had a good attitude because she knew she had to be strong, and we got through it, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really was a mindset check at that point, and yeah, we got through it, and we're better for it.
During those like months of recovery, like what kind of mindset do you feel like was what kept you going? Because I mean, there's no way 100% of the time you were keeping a positive mindset. Like, what were the things that you were like wrestling with in that time?
Man, honestly, a lot of what I was wrestling with was, you know, there's the physical pain, and that's definitely there, and that'll put you in a bad mood, you know, having to get shots every morning, you know, blood thinners and all that stuff, you know, that sucks. So there's a physical pain, but it was the mental game, man. And that was every day being confined to a bed, knowing that you can't be out there doing, you know, just doing life. It was tough, but the thing that kept me going was, you know, my wife didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for it either, but you know, she took care of me through that time, man. So I had to be strong and have a good attitude because, you know, she'd had to deal with me. So it just, honestly, for her, just to be able to get through it together, to make it easier on her, man, because it was hard on her, you know. I mean,
I can imagine. Yeah,
it's tough, man. But, you know, I will say that we watched everything on Netflix.
Just
everything.
Cleared out the catalog.
Everything. Yeah, forget quarantine. Like, that was my quarantine.
That was
man.
it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're literally not leaving bed. Like,
no.
Yeah.
I get in the chair once in a while and like wheel around the house, you know. But yeah, dude, it was. I'll say this though, something else that really got me through it. That I couldn't have done it without the community around us.
Sure.
Man. Family, friends, the church community, man. Like, we had people rally, and it was amazing. You know, we never missed a meal. Like, we had people bringing too much food. We probably still have casseroles in the freezer from that, you know? And so I think that really is what got us through it, man. It was the community around us, family, friends, you know, everyone around us kind of rallying together to help us get through it.
That's a wild story, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But it was in that time. I mean, it's not that you're like thankful for getting hurt, but in a way you're thankful to go through that trial in a way that it literally changed your life, you know, in a different way. You're a better person. You're a stronger person. You discovered what you wanted to do, you know, in starting film.
Yeah.
How has that, do you ever like take inspiration from those moments, or was it just something that you're just like, you know, you kind of leave behind, or is it something that you think about, like, if I can get through this, I can get through anything kind of thing?
It's funny, man. When I think about it, it feels like it was someone else's life, like it wasn't my life, because it was just so crazy, you know. Right. It just happened, changed my life for, you know, the 4 or 5 months that it lasted, and then, so it's weird when I think back on it, because it doesn't even feel like it happened to me. But when I do look back, I see the good that came from it.
Sure.
I see that I made some big life decisions, while I was forced to just be alone with my thoughts. I was running hard before that, man. I was working a lot. I didn't really slow down, so it gave me time just to pause and to just question everything, man. Question, like, what am I doing with my time?
Sure.
What do I want to be doing? How's my marriage? How are we doing? It really made me kind of, face those things in the best way possible. So when I think back on it, I see the benefits that came from it for sure. I don't think about the bad. I really do see the benefits that came from it.
I think that's a common thing through any sort of like trauma or tragedy that somebody goes through. They're, in a way, like a weird way, thankful for it, for the experience, thankful for that time, because it kind of realigns their purpose and their priorities and all of that. I remember you telling me about his accident, and you're like, dude, you remember Dev? Like, he's paralyzed. And that was when we didn't know like all the details of your accident. Said like a tree fell on him and all this kind of stuff. It's just crazy. So I wanted to share the story of how the three of us got connected. And Morgan, on your your first O&S podcast, we talked about you being in Colors in the band. And so full disclosure, you're looking at a couple retired members of Colors right now.
It's true.
So I'm starstruck over here, guys.
I know. So, but Dev was we played music together. I think that was the first one of the first times that we interacted. As in a creative setting.
I think that was the first time I met you guys.
I think it was.
Was it the first time?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild, right?
Yeah, we had mutual friends, but I knew of you guys, but I think that was the first time we met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fun times.
Yeah, two shows.
Days,
we
man.
played two shows.
2 whole shows.
Yeah. Well, that's like kind of the crazy part about 1836, and I guess to go back to the company and like the serendipity of it all, the three of us got together. We played, a couple shows here in Florida, and Dev and I went our separate ways. Like we went back on tour. Dev went back home to do live production, and Dev and I didn't speak for, I don't know, 4 years or so, and I moved into an apartment downtown here in Sarasota, and I was walking out my front door one day, and Dev's walking into the door right across from mine. I mean, like, there's only 8 units in this apartment. It's tiny. It's a tiny little apartment, and I was kind of taken aback. I couldn't wrap my head around what was going on. I was like, random. Man. So he's moving in across the way from me, and we had both gotten into film separately, from the last time we had met. And from there, that's how we started working together. We're like, well, we'll just kind of do some jobs together. We were both at a place where we were like, man, we feel like we're capped out on what we can do on our own. These video productions, smaller promo stuff. Like, we're like, we just can't. Both he and I are very obsessive people, and I think we were both at a place where we felt like our work was kind of hitting a ceiling. And so we were like, well, let's, pair up and do some work whenever we get jobs together. And then from there, even with our own separate companies, we kind of felt like we were capped a little bit just in the markets that we were working in. And so 1836, we really wanted to set a precedent with it. And that was sort of the idea behind the agency, is to, be able to give clients the work that we feel they deserve, and really put everything we have and recruit other people and create this sort of community of people who all, everyone's goal is what's best for the project.
Right.
And I think that's what really, that's what makes me so excited about 1836. So the name, came from the address to the apartment. The address to the apartment is 1836.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it was just this kind of serendipitous moment that we had met, and it just made sense to sort of like give it that name. So it has a really cool story behind it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, with the start, 1836 has been active now for 6 months, 8 months, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Like
I'm terrible with days.
Time frames and stuff like that. Well,
something
everything
like
kind of feels off with the quarantine.
Yeah.
Time is kind of standing still a little bit.
We're in a weird spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we started, it was kind of one of those things where we were like, well, the COVID hit, and we were together all the time. I mean, we were living across from each other, so we were always hanging out. Our wives are, great friends, and so we were always just together. And both of us, it just kind of, it wasn't even like a question. We were just like, we have to make the most of this opportunity.
Sure.
While things are down, like, let's do something crazy. Let's start a company.
Right.
Let's invest in, the gear that we need and use this time while, businesses are down and things are going on to sort of give 1836 legs. And that's what we did. And so it's funny looking back that we started a company in the middle, like the height of a pandemic.
It's the best time to start one, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, man.
Well, here's the benefit. Here's just starting a film agency. When companies can't do anything, at least they can produce content, and especially in a time where people are stuck at home, they're absorbing content at a much faster rate.
Sure.
So it's smart for companies to just lean into that side. What are some of the projects that you've worked on at the beginning of 1836? What are the projects that you really love doing? Yeah. I don't know if you could hear
The
that.
rain stop with the thunders.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
For us,
It was kind of really good timing too.
Yeah.
Like,
It
was.
Yeah.
It was
Like
a
ended
nice
the question.
pause.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
we had, because we both have such a heavy music background, music videos seemed like something that we would be able to execute really well. We've both worked with music videos before. We connect with artists on a deeper level. Like we really have a soft spot for music artists, especially being on the other side of that, knowing that, you're trying to be resourceful. You want to get the best, you want to represent your band in the best way you can, but you typically, maybe don't have $100,000 for a budget or something like that. So I think, and that's where Dev and I sort of came from, is just being resourceful and trying to figure it out.
Right.
And so music videos are something that we really love doing. We really, really love working with artists, and that's been predominantly what we've been doing as of late.
Do you have like a specific artist that you like dream about working with one day?
Ooh, there's a bunch. There's a bunch.
Top 3.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like asking who your favorite band is, or your favorite artist. That's a tough
I could
one.
answer that in a top 3
Bon
question.
Iver, if you're listening,
Yeah.
if you're listening,
The likelihood.
Cigaros,
Putting it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just put it out into the universe.
Yeah, I'd say the answer to that is just all the artists that we love. Bon Iver, those artists like that, from indie rock to electro pop and everything in between, man, hip hop. Be happy to do something for Drake or
Sure,
you name it, man.
Well, what I'll do is I'll link in the bottom of this video. I'll link, if that's okay with you guys, a couple of the videos that you guys have done.
Sure.
They're fucking amazing. Like they're
Thanks, man.
so good.
Thank you.
It's like I said, it's a rare thing to find a collaboration that works as seamlessly as you guys do. I'm just excited if we can just get this COVID shit over with.
Seriously.
Get some filming going here.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
things
man.
are starting to open back up.
Yeah.
And we've stayed surprisingly busy through this. So I can't wait to see, once things start opening back up. I mean, we're obviously looking to scale, and we're looking, to take on as many projects as we possibly can, both commercial and music video. So once things are starting to open up, people are starting to reach out. We're starting to get more clients, even return clients. So it's a good sign.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the rest of the year, and then into next year.
Yeah, and getting into these projects for O&A as well, man. It's something that we're really pumped on, man.
Yeah,
Mhm.
We're really,
I'm
really happy
super
to do
excited
it.
about it.
Mhm.
I think it's it's just a collaboration like we've done in the past. It's just
Yeah, man.
I think it's going to work pretty seamlessly.
Yeah.
Do you guys have plans to actually do a film yourself? Like actually, instead of doing just client work, but actually
Like a feature film?
like a feature film?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about it. We're constantly dreaming and writing. There's always a project on the back burner that's just kind of there stewing. So we've gone through a lot of ideas and put a lot of thought towards it. I could definitely see it being something that we would do. It's taxing, man. It takes a lot of time, a lot
Sure.
of resources. So right now the focus is definitely in the commercial, music video realm, and that honestly takes all of our focus at this moment. But
Sure.
yeah, I think it's something that we're definitely interested in doing, and I think it's something that we could, we could do.
Yeah.
And I think we can do it well.
Is there a specific genre of type of film that you guys could see yourself doing?
I think we lean heavily towards just a lot of the more humanistic, projects, like something like a Moonlight, something that lives in a very raw space.
Yeah.
So I think that those are the type of projects we would really love to do. I don't think I think it would be some sort of a drama. I think we would live in like the more dramatic space, some sort of heavier topic. We're both very introspective people, and
that aligns with your personalities for sure.
Yeah. So I think that would be sort of the direction we would take for a feature, which we will at some point.
Yeah.
Once we get some time, and we get our legs with the company, and
you guys are hustling right now.
Yeah. That's where we're at.
Yeah, you're working, and I mean, just even seeing the progression from when you started, it was a run and gun, with a Sony, and just trying to get that work, and now you guys have you got the big boy pants on now.
Making something out of nothing.
There
man.
it is.
That's what we're doing.
That's it.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on COVID? I mean, we're 6 months in.
Damn, you're opening a can of worms
Yes,
right now.
that's what I want to do. That's what we're here for. We got through the film stuff now. We got through the introduction. Now we're gonna dive deep into some hot button topics.
I think my opinions have changed on it just throughout this crazy 6 months. At first it was one of those things where it seemed kind of crazy that we're going to go on lockdown and we all have to wear masks and all this stuff, but at the time you just didn't know, so it's safe, better safe than sorry, and these things. My biggest thing with it right now, and I think it's just like I guess it's a commentary on the world right now, is it seems like facts are not facts anymore. It seems like information is not actually information anymore, and everyone has their own set of facts,
right,
and no one can decide on what is actually true and what is real. We have the CDC saying one thing, we have, this political party saying another thing. It just, to me, it's bigger than COVID. I think it's really where we're at right now with social media and with information. I think it's very murky, and we have information coming at us from every direction.
Sure.
Yet we know so little.
Right.
We don't have actual facts, or we do, they're painted with, whatever agenda comes from either side. So I think that it's tough for me to talk about, COVID and, without just talking about that, because to me, that's the most frustrating thing right now is, you get different facts every week and everyone has their opinion on it. And you just wish that there was an adult somewhere who could just tell us, like, hey guys, this is actually it because the scientists have said this, and this is here are the numbers.
Sure.
This is real. This is it.
Right.
But I feel like it's just contested, and then so it's very confusing right now.
Sure. I mean, it's one of those things, like whatever your perspective is, you can find an article, you can find a person that will like agree with whatever your point is.
Yeah, you just get in your little echo chamber.
Sure.
And yeah, it's I think we just haven't seen this really to this extent, I mean, the whole world is seeing this right now, and it's pretty crazy. I feel like the biggest thing right now is just trying to cut through to the real information, like what's going on here,
right.
What do we need to do? I understand if there's a disease and people are dying, you need to take that seriously, but then, did the pendulum swing too far in the other direction, and now the economy is dying? I don't know. Which one is
I think
the lesser of two evils?
That's the hard part. Is like nobody knows what to do.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the right thing to do.
No.
We have 50 states that all have a different plan,
Yep.
that all handle it differently, and one state acts like they know more than the other, and it's like nobody knows.
Right.
Nobody knows what the right thing to do is. It's like, oh, do we lock down? Do we not lock down? Sweden didn't lock down, and look at them, and
Right.
New York did lock down, and look at them. They had terrible numbers. So it's like there's this I think people have forgotten that life is more nuanced than what we like to pretend it to be.
Right.
There's not like this right or wrong. There's not this black or white. It's more of a nuanced approach to anything. But it's been a shitty past 5 months as far as like trying to manage a company.
Yeah.
In a very uneasy time.
Sure.
We both have startups in this reality right now. And it does become scary. It becomes like, well, shit, what are we gonna do? Like, but there's this drive, and I know that you guys have this, to no matter what life throws at you, you have that vision and you're going to push towards it, and you're going to take whatever life has, it's going to throw your way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I really just, I look forward to the day where this is in the past, and we're all just moving forward, man. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what, who knows, man.
it's kind of like your accident. I'm sure there's like 3 or 4 months that you were in recovery, like felt like years.
Yeah. It felt like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And I'm sure like, even though we're in it right now and it just feels like forever, we'll look back at this in like a couple of years and be like, oh yeah.
Hopefully laugh.
I mean, hopefully, for the love of God, I hope we laugh.
But
just if 2020 can keep it together. Just no more shit.
Yeah.
Like, let's just, we've had enough.
Sure.
I've tap out.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's been
interesting, man. It's been polarizing.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
How has O&S done through all of this? How have you done?
I think, at first, when things really started to get sketchy here, like for a while, like February, it was still, over in China. It was just not here. It wasn't like our reality. Like there were like people talking about it. I'm a germaphobe and I have anxiety about certain things. So like the way I relieve my anxiety is to research the shit out of something and just like truly understand it.
Yeah.
When the media started reporting on COVID, I was like, okay, I need to like find out what's going on, because the media was like covering it like if you got it, you were dead. Like it's a death sentence if you get this virus. And so as I was going into it, I'm just like, oh, okay. So like the initial reports were putting like the death rate around 3 to 4%. So you had a 97% chance of surviving the thing. So I'm like, okay, that's like more reasonable. And I remember having a conversation with our mutual friend Ryan, and he's like, yeah, did you hear about this coronavirus? He's like, it's got me all freaked out. Like, it sounds like you're going to die. Like, and I'm just like, no, like you got a 96, 97% chance of being just fine. Like, I just remember like a couple of people in my life that I was like, they just were perceiving it as this like death sentence. And so then like Sarasota was like one of the first places in the country to have a COVID positive. I don't know if you guys remember that or not.
Yep.
Like Sarasota County, like where we live, had one of the first reported cases of COVID in Florida and in the country. And that's when it was just like, that's when it started getting really scary. And then as the numbers started to go up and we started to see things like shut down and we really starting to get uneasy, O&S took a huge hit. Like there's just no lying about that. Like we, as a company, as retail in general, I mean, we saw 42, 43% retraction in retail sales when this thing first hit. But at the time, it was very scary. But because O&S is a lean startup and we don't have a ton of overhead, we don't have stores, we don't have all of these things, we were able to survive where a lot of companies didn't. We don't have a lot of debt. We don't have all of these things to where it's like, we don't have we can't keep our doors open. Right. So thankfully, I feel like at the beginning, like, because I was like so focused on like trying to like almost like keep my world together, this like, I have very like control freak type tendencies. Like I like to control the things in my life. I'm very structured. I'm very scheduled. And I just remember like almost feeling like, nobody freak out. Everybody just hold it together. We're going to be fine. Like nobody freak out. Like it's going to be okay. And then everything, like shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
And this year has just proven to me like there are just certain things that you just cannot, you can't control.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So this is the year of stoicism for me. Like this is the year of like, there are things in this world that you cannot control. You can't control what people think. You can't control how people act. You just have to kind of roll with it. And so pretty, we saw sales decline, and then they picked back up as, stimulus checks came out. And but this whole time, I'm getting so frustrated because we had I remember the video that we made at our end of the year, like our year recap. That it was, just recapping 2019, and at the end of the video, I say, and I'm so excited to see what 2020 has in store for us.
Loaded words, man.
Very loaded words. I ended that video with those words, and never would I have imagined this year to be. We wanted to double our content. We wanted to double our sales. We wanted to double everything.
Right.
We really had a lot of goals, and COVID kind of threw a wrench in that.
Right.
But it's like you said, like even with your accident or whatever it may be, you're not going to sit here and bitch about it.
Right.
You're going to take what it is and just run through it and just persevere. Because there's no other option.
Right. You regroup and you adapt.
Exactly.
Just as you have. I mean, I know like we just received a couple of the O&S masks, and like never in a million years, I'm sure, did you think you would be manufacturing masks, but here you are.
Right.
And that's what you do.
Yeah.
You adapt.
You have to. I mean, you have to. If you want to keep your vision going, like you just have to adapt.
Yeah.
Which the O&S masks are great. You can pick them up on O&S
I tell you,
oakenstone.com.
it made me feel a little bit better about wearing a mask.
Sure.
Knowing that I could have that Oakenstone label on
Felt
there.
safer.
It is
exactly,
safer.
yeah.
I can't validate that.
The candle test. It passed the candle test.
It did pass the candle test. So,
Okay.
but that's what we do as entrepreneurs. We adapt and we push forward. We all have families that we support. We all have things that we responsibilities that we can't just like curl up in a ball and wait for it all to be over. We just have to figure it out.
Exactly.
So, it's a year, it's a regrouping year. But, like I said, we'll come out stronger. Lessons learned. You can't, through situations like this, if you can make it through, your company will be stronger. You as a person will be stronger. And I have no doubt in my mind, O&S will make it through this. We're already making it through this.
Yeah, man.
And we have bigger and better things that we have in store. And especially with 1836 on board, we're really going to do some great things.
Yeah, man. We've got some things
Yeah.
in the works.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. So I was actually talking with Aronde today, and he was, I was telling him a little bit about the collaboration and all of that. And Aronde, for those of you who don't know, Aronde is one of the I think he was the very first athlete that O&S sponsored and was part of the team and all of that. And
savage of a man.
Savage of a human being. He's bigger now. I saw him today. He's bigger. I didn't even know it was possible.
Yeah.
Quarantine, man.
Yeah, apparently. Like he got the quarantine 20, but in muscle, not in fat.
That's it.
Yeah.
So he got more shredded and bigger during quarantine. Guy's a fucking freak. But anyway, he was just talking about like, he brought me back to like when O&S first started at the beginning of 2019. He's like, you're doing all the things that you envisioned. Like you're doing everything. He's like, because I was kind of just like struggling with him a little bit. He's like, you're only a year and a half into this. He's like, think about like the things that you've done. And it's really, really hard because you see like your present, you see where you are today, but it's really hard to like see how far you come. And that was just like a really great reminder. So like, even for you guys, like it's hard, like even in those difficult times, like look how, like I try to tell people that too, like just look how far you've made it. Like it's really easy to like woe in the present, like when you're not exactly where you want to be.
Sure.
But just always remember to look back and remember like, man, I've come a long way and I've learned a lot. And I know, just to bring it back full circle, like, from your accident, like you were hating life in it, but you were thankful for that experience.
Sure.
And all the byproducts that came from it. And I know we'll come out of this like thankful for the experience and thankful for all the lessons that we've learned through all of this. But
yeah,
it's shitty when you're going through it though. There are days that I'm just like, I fucking tap out. I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, man.
Sure.
But then I get that voice of David Goggins in my ear. And that's the only self-talk I really, really respond to, is just like that savage of a man in my ear. Like, stop being a little bitch.
Yeah.
Get through this. You can do it.
Sure.
Couple more reps.
A couple more reps. You always get a few more in you. Yeah.
Just get those reps in.
Yeah, man. If you take the time to sort of zoom out
Yeah.
with your life.
Yeah.
You know, and it immediately puts into perspective, like gratitude, you
Mhm.
know, and I think we all need that. You know, you get into like the grind of a day and you're working 10, 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and you're out of balance. And when you're out of balance, you know, you're frustrated and you start to project, and it reflects on your family life and reflects badly on your work life. And you're overworked and underslept. And I think, you know, when you zoom out and you sort of look at the bigger picture and you realize like, oh, you know, even with us, like I feel like it's a once a week thing where I'm like, you know, we get into something and we're frustrated and we're just kind of in it, you know, and usually it's my wife that ends up reminding me, you know, that like, you know, things aren't so bad, you know, and I think we all need that.
Sure.
You know, you just need to be able to zoom out sometimes and just realize like, oh, we've been doing this for, you know, 6 months. Yeah. 6 months. And here we are like steadily busy and scaling and doing well and things aren't that bad.
No.
You know?
Sometimes you need those reminders though.
Yeah, you do.
You need those conversations.
You have to.
I think the biggest thing for me is just coming out of this, reprioritizing a lot of things. You know, especially in the beginning, you know, spend more time with your family, realize what's really important.
Yep.
You know, in that my wife is always very good at reminding me of those kinds of things. Like I started drinking more, which was like totally abnormal for me. Like I was having like more like midweek drinks because I just was so stressed like all the time. Like it was just, it was like one of my only escapes. And I was just like, that's so stupid. Like, stop doing that. Like, you don't need that. Like, just get through it. Like, it's the only way I get is just beat the shit out of myself, you know, and then just pick myself up. But yeah, that's,
I mean, I think that when you end up getting in those kind of headspaces, you know, you end up diving deeper into work or whatever. You end up just, you focus on the external, right? Like you focus on these things that you're like, if I just work harder, if I just work extra hours, if I just, you know, push through this or whatever. And I think that you find yourself in like this diminishing return position. And I think that it's the balance, right? It's letting go of those things and spending time with your family and understanding like, no, I need to stop working.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if this has got like a deadline. Like you stop and you refocus and you get back to it. And I think I always find that I do my worst work when I'm in this like small self mentality, you know? And, I think that's, you know, just having those reminders and being able to just sort of step back and going like, no, what's best for this company, what's best for the growth of me as a human, this company, my marriage, whatever, my life, is to find that balance between, you know, order and chaos. So
get into Jordan Peterson a little bit.
Oh man. Yeah. He needs to come out and speak, man.
I know. I'm ready for him to come back.
We're all waiting.
I know. I think it's true. I mean, it's one of those, it's like I said before, like I want everything to be in order.
Sure.
I want it to. And it's, you know, this year has been one of those situations where it's like, no matter what I do, no matter how many hours I put in, no matter how hard I work, I can't change it. I can't fix it.
Right.
And, that's tough. That teaches you a lesson though. Like that teaches you a lesson about life, that there's just sometimes there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. It teaches you that a lot in order to gain order, a lot of times, letting go is the necessary, like that's the necessary action.
You have to weave into the chaos for it to come back into order.
Yeah, man. Like you have to.
But that's like the hardest thing for a control freak to do is like, okay, I'm just going to lean into this and just let it happen and control the things I can control and just let everything else happen.
I think we're all similar minded in that way.
Yeah.
That we're all just obsessive and we're driven. And I think those are double-edged swords. You know, those things can work for you most of the time.
Yeah.
And I think when they work against you, it's a mess, you know, and like, I think we all find ourselves in those positions more often than we'd probably like to admit.
Sure.
You know, just wanting to control everything and wanting to force our way into success or whatever that means to us. When, you know, for me specifically, when I start to focus on these external things and these measures or whatever, you end up finding yourself in like this place where you're disgusted with yourself. Your business isn't doing as well. Like everything just, you finally take a step back and you're like, what have I been doing? Like, this is silly.
Yeah. I think I had that conversation with you, like the amount of things like the emotions I feel in a minute as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, it's so terrible. Like you feel a range of emotions that it's like, this is a great idea. This is the worst idea. I'm terrible. I'm awesome. This sucks. Nobody's going to like it. Oh, everybody's going to love this. All within a 1 minute span.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
Like that, I guess that's the cross we have to bear, right? As creators and entrepreneurs, like that's just what it is.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, we get selfish too, you know. I think being in that mindset, just thinking about our thing and what we're doing, you know, a lot of the time it's just, we get those reminders, you know, from our wives or from other people. And a lot of the time it's just, hey, take the focus off of yourself, put it on somebody else, go help somebody, just do something good, you know?
Exactly.
And I think a lot of the time that's just that perspective that we need, you know.
Sure.
It's really easy for us to get selfish in our own little worlds and, you know, all those things that we do as entrepreneurs and stuff. But, you know, a lot of the time it just means you need to get your thoughts off yourself and, you know, do something for somebody or, you know,
Right.
help someone or something.
Well, I think that's one thing I've really been thinking about a lot lately is like, why do I do what I do?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because I want like $1 million? Is it because I want awesome cars, or do I want to provide a really great life for my family? And I really realize like it, and I've been narrowing down, is that my number one goal is to spend more time with my family and provide a good life. That's it.
Yeah.
And a good life for them, not necessarily meaning a big house or, you know, nice cars or all the fancy bells and whistles, but I think a good life for them is that, you know, their dad will be there.
Right.
He'll be there at their dance recitals. He'll be there, you know, to drop them off at school, like little things like that. Like those are the things that I want to accomplish. And O&S is my passion. I wake up thinking about it. I go to bed thinking about it. It's one of those, like, starting a business is like solving a really complicated puzzle. And it's like, there's no book that you can read on like how you can build your business to be successful. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of them out there.
Yeah. People try to sell them to you, but
there's no such thing as that,
right.
because every company is unique. Every company is different. And there's techniques definitely to help grow. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, but every incident, every company is unique. Really honing in on like understanding what is my motivation in life. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like, I know, like that's where I'm coming to, is like, this is, you know, my wife has to constantly remind me, like, we're happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We love where we are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We love having you around. Like we don't want to sacrifice you to have more stuff.
Right.
That's silly.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having a conversation with my mentor, and you know, very successful business person, worked a lot, was gone away from his family a lot. And one of the things he told me that stuck with me forever was that he's like, I trade the empire to have my family back.
Yeah.
You know, he lost his family because he was always gone. He was always working. And I'm just like, man, like that's lessons that you need to take to heart, because it's hard. Like we always want to be working on the thing that we're working on, the thing that we love, the thing that we're trying to grow. But in the long run, like that's what's most important. Like, so I'm constantly having to remind myself, like, be there for your kids. Mm-hmm. You know, you're doing this for them. You say you're doing this for them. Be there. That's the number one thing. Yeah. So
100%, man.
Yeah, I think there's and this is something, you know, my wife constantly reminds me about as well, is just like this idea. I always give her this, I have, you know, even pursuing music was the same thing. You know, it was just whatever sort of, whatever avenue I'm chasing, it's my thing, you know?
Well, and you're going to give it 100%.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I've always, since we were dating, I mean, we've been together for going on 6 years at this point, and I've always been this type of person. You know, she kind of came into the middle of my music career, and it was always, when we'd have these conversations, it was always like, well, you know, for now, just for now, like for the next however long, you know, I'd put some obscure time. I have to work this much. I have to do this because, you know, it's going to pay off or whatever. And like her pushback was always like, well, what about now? You know, what about now? What about, you know, and she's unbelievably supportive and would never tell me like, you know, stop working or whatever it is. Like she supports me 100%. But I think it's just like a gentle nudge of like, don't forget about now, you know, don't forget about this time, because it's always going to be that. I can do that. I will do that forever. I'm starting to realize as I get older, like I'm going to have that excuse forever.
Sure.
You know, if I let myself.
Sure. It'll never be good enough.
No.
The company will never be where you want it to be.
No.
There's never a day that you're just like, all right,
we did it.
Yeah, there's no arrival.
Done.
No.
Done. No.
And that's part of the fun, right? Like that's
well, I
part
think
of
that's it's like that thrill, that pursuit of creating something and building something, and this like rawness to like, you know, getting in the mud and just building something, like creating something from nothing. There's like this thrill that happens.
Yeah.
And I love this startup phase. As much of emotional roller coaster as it is, like I love it. I really do.
Well, it's the challenge too, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you're always going to want that. You're always going to want to push yourself. You're always going to want to be facing some form of adversity. You know, that might be in lifting weights or, you know, whatever it is, or starting a business. But I think the way that we're wired is to always have that thing that we're trying to push through.
Right.
You know, we're always trying to get there, but yeah, you don't ever arrive. No. I don't think we ever will. It's just you're always going to find the next thing.
I mean, it's like, you know, I'm watching this interview with Kevin Hart. It's like probably one of the most successful comedians. I mean, has it all.
Yep.
Has it all. Has all the money he ever needs. Generational wealth. Biggest comedian in the world. Like one of the top comedians in the world. It's not enough.
No, he's still pushing.
He's still pushing.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to be the first billionaire. There's no, I guess like there's that thing that you'll just always be chasing. So it's a good thing. I really do believe that's a good thing. It's just like trying to find that balance. It just has to be that balance of order and chaos, weaving in between the two, and leaning into one when you feel like you're too far into the other.
Right.
I think that's just it's a really important thing.
That's it, dude. We just figured it out.
I think we figured out life,
man.
We did it.
That's it.
Drop this mic.
Yep. Well, again, I'm so excited for this partnership. I think it's going to be a match made in heaven. I know your product is good. I know you represent the brand well, and that's good. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm
for
sure we'll
having
do
us,
this
man.
again.
Yeah, thanks, man. It
All
was
right.
fun.